Hey, Billy here. I wanted to share in this video something that I've been thinking about a lot, something I talk to my friends about a lot, and something I think would help anybody that's going through this right now. So it's been a case for me where it seems to line up with what happened last year, but I've been through a bit of an ebb or a bit of a rut over probably the last month or so, and I'd say I'm just on the upwards trajectory and starting to get out of it. And so there's certain things that I did to turn that around. And there's certain parts of it that are inherent and that you can't control. And so starting to understand that will give you a better level of happiness and just understanding of what's happening. So as far as what this actually is, I'm sure you've felt this for yourself as somebody that's self-aware or somebody that's starting to become even more self-aware and self-conscious. Life goes in these cycles. Sometimes you're up, sometimes like both confidence and just happiness are just up. Everything seems to be going well for you, and then there'll be ebbs where nothing goes right. Your habits fall off, and you're just not being the person that you know you can be, and you maybe don't even really know why those good emotions have gone away or those good feelings have gone away, and it's a process to get them back. And I've been through a bunch of these cycles. Again, it's normally about I'd say like 6 weeks for me, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But I see these cycles come up again and again and again. And what's even weirder too is that even with my friends and stuff, we'll see ourselves go through these similar cycles where we're both kind of struggling at the same time. We're both kind of doing well at the same time. So um, as I put in the first section here, there's something you can't control. Like that might be a limiting belief of mine. And as soon as my stance changes, I will delete this video and forget I ever made it. But I think there's a certain part of this you can control and a certain part you can't control. Hence why there's only two sections on this page. So I think there's a part of this you can't control. There's seasons of your life. There's going to be seasons where like you're super disciplined, you're meditating every morning, gym's going super well, uh, you're PRing every week, whatever it is. And there's going to be times where anything you do, you get injured in the gym. You're not meditating, you're not doing these habits, you're not like feeling good about yourself. And even if you are, even if you're doing everything right, you're still not seeing the results that you want at work or still not seeing the results you want in the gym. So I think a part of this is just the seasons of life. And really, without moving on to the next section too quickly, you need to just think long term. Like I always think about like my year as a whole, or even like the as a whole, because something I really struggle with is kind of what you would call recency bias, which is that if I've had a bad week, all I can see is that bad week and be like, oh, my life's been shit for months. When really that's not the case. Like I just had a bad couple of days last week, and even the whole week out of it, there was only like 2 bad days in it. But because of my like the way my brain works, I'm always looking for how can I improve. I just focus on the negative a little bit and focus on the problems rather than focusing on the whole week and going, well, cool. There was like 4 days in there where I did really well and I was happy and my habits were great, and then I had two where I ate like an asshole. I did a couple other things wrong, but it doesn't, that doesn't make get rid of the whole week. So yeah, there's definitely stuff I'm still working on, as you could hear. So yeah, but there's a part of this that is just the laws of nature, like whether it's biological, like whether it's the fact that we're getting to the end of the winter and it's been a super long winter for us this year, whether it's just your body works in these cycles, you can't keep pushing all the time. Like whenever you hear in high level companies like Google or whatever, they'll talk about it in sprints in terms of like they'll work really, really hard for 6 weeks and then maybe have a week off or whatever it is. And I know a lot of people I look up to try and have a holiday or some time off every quarter. And I think that's super important and part of what we'll move on to in the next part, which is taking control of that. So everybody's going to burn out if you just work really hard all year, you are going to burn out. Like that's a fact. I definitely got burnt out at the beginning of this year. I was working too much, not deprioritizing my family, which has hurt, and I've had to have a lot of difficult conversations as part of that, as part of that burnout. And so really what that looks like is I'm definitely taking on more work than I should have, but then also not um, taking control. So in the gym, like you don't wanna like crash. Well, you want to plan your rest days. You want to have like whether it's two a week, one a week, whatever it is. You want to give your body that time to recover. You don't want to smash yourself to the point where you literally can't go to the gym and then you take a rest day. And you want to be proactive with this stuff. The same with work as well. Like I always try and take a holiday every quarter. Again, I've not been super consistent with that. But if you take a holiday every quarter, you know that's coming up, and you can kind of run into that, take a week off, whatever it is, get some downtime, and then go again afterwards because it's been planned. Rather than burning out and going, "Fuck me, I hate my life. I need to take a week off. I don't want to look at work. Like I need to take a week off." Being proactive is going to make a huge difference to it. So that would be the biggest advice there, especially on like taking time off. Definitely the quarterly time off is big, and you just can't sprint for much longer than that. So that's what it is. And again, to cover this piece even more importantly, there's two books that have really changed my mindset on this. The first was The Psychology of Money. Just very much the through line of that book is just thinking more long term about money, not about like what you're doing right now, but like what the compound interest is going to do over 30 years. Planning for that, planning for retirement now. Even though I'm 27, I'm planning for retirement and how much money I'm going to need and what I need to put aside, and all this different stuff. And so that's really switched my mindset, because I'm someone that if it's not on my Google Calendar for next week, I don't see it. Like events that are months out, birthdays that are months out, I just don't see. So that book really helped me think long term. And another one was Seeking Wisdom, which I've talked about on this channel millions of times. It's probably getting boring by now, but that book by Peter Bevelin is really key, or has been key to just changing my mind frame and mindset about a bunch of stuff. Because Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger recently passed away. They were both in their late 80s, early 90s, and so they've lived a long life. They've seen a lot of things, and so when they make moves, they think long term about living with those investments, or whatever the case may be. So, and the benefit of that when it comes to the ebbs and flows is you're thinking long term, and obviously part of this is just thinking about the stuff you've done right. But let's just say you wanted to meditate 100 days this year. That doesn't mean you're going to give yourself a hard time, and on the day maybe you don't meditate for a week, but you make it up next week, whatever it is. Again, there's one on here, the strive for consistency. So I wouldn't recommend you do that, but if you look at the whole year or the whole quarter, there's going to be times in there where you did nothing for a day. There's also going to be times where you were super productive in a flow state, and got way more done. So when you stop looking so microscopically of like, what did I do today? What did I produce today? And start looking at like, what did I produce this week? What did I produce this month? And what did I produce this year? That's really where you want to look at. And so even a lot of authors will kind of get over their writer's block and write better books by thinking about, there's a famous story, I can't actually remember the guy's name, but he just, at the start of he only had a limited time frame to write a book, and he spent the first 5 days sitting on a picnic bench looking up at the sky, which none of that involves writing a book. But he was getting his thoughts together and kind of sharpening the axe for when he actually ended up writing pages. That author was actually famous for saying that he thinks about his career in like decades. So rather than thinking or setting goals that are like, I need to write 300 pages this week, it was like, cool, I need to write 3 bestsellers over the course of the next 10 years. Like what would enable me to do that? And kind of setting his process around that. So I think that was a super interesting concept, and definitely a good example of thinking long term versus getting way too dialed in on like what you're doing today, what are you doing yet, what did you do yesterday, what are you going to do tomorrow, and like just kind of trying to be super productive in a microscopic level versus on a macro level. So cool. The next thing, the emotions are passing clouds, and not to buy into them. So at least for me, my kind of definition of depression, or at least understanding of how it's manifested in my life, has been that it's kind of been a negative spiral of negative thoughts, or a downward spiral of negative thoughts. And so when I buy into them, I really mean that I don't have, like you would have when you're meditating, that like third person perspective on it. I like buy into it. I'm like thinking those thoughts, and I'm getting super involved emotionally. And kind of continuing those thought patterns along, whether it be speaking negatively about myself, about the situation, or being kind of like apathetic or hopeless or whatever it is, and just continuing to kind of spiral down and not get perspective and go, okay, cool, leave these thoughts where they are, like let's move on. And so I think that's a really big thing. One like great example for me where this kind of manifests in the most like visceral sense is whenever I'm hungover. So I don't drink a lot, and this is partly the reason. When I get hungover, as in the day after I've had a lot of drink, I'm very emotional and anxious, and so I always tell myself during those days to just basically not listen to anything that I've got to say about myself. So I know there's some practices where people say to kind of give the voice in your head a different name, and so on those days, it's kind of the thing is someone other than Billy is saying all of these things, negative shit, and I just don't listen to it for like the whole day until I've had a nap, rehydrated, and had a good amount of food. So that's a very microcosm of like the kind of main thing here, which is just to not buy into those emotions. all of these emotions are going to pass. Whether you feel really shit about your job, you just need to kind of like, even recently, I've left my job. And so what I had to do rather than getting super frustrated about it is be like, cool, put the emotions aside. What are the tangible things I can do? Can I leave my job? Can I speak to my manager and get like a different working relationship here? Can I negotiate some time off because I need to reset for my mental health? What is it? What are the practical steps you can do rather than kind of going through these fake conversations in your head or whatever it is, I'm thinking negatively, oh, I can't find another job, or I can't do this, or I can't do this. Like, stop those negative thoughts and just go, cool, what are the practical steps I can take? And then other than that, I'm going to stop thinking about this topic. I'm going to stop engaging in these emotions. I'm going to stop making myself feel bad until I've started to take some action. So that's a big thing. Mindfulness is kind of the core of this. And obviously meditation would help you to just not engage with those thoughts and just let them pass, because that's really what they are. Any strong emotions, whether it's anger, whether it's anxiety when I'm hungover, all of those things are going to pass. And so if I just allow myself to just write those off, just observe and go, cool, I'm feeling anxious right now. There's some basis for it or there's not. I'm not going to judge it. I'm just going to let that happen. Cool. I'm just going to go about my day and I'm not going to engage with those thoughts. Cool. And then the next bit is to strive for consistency. So this is something that's really, really big. As I go through these ebbs and flows that kind of naturally happen, what I really want to have are anchors there, which kind of have the inverse effect of instead of holding me to one spot, it basically stops me falling too far down. And so once I've got those pillars in place of like, what time do I go to bed? What time do I wake up? When do I have my meals? How many times do I go to the gym every week? How much protein am I hitting every day? How much water am I drinking every day? What supplements am I taking every day? When am I doing my washing? When am I going to clean the house? Like all of these little like consistent habits that you can keep there so that when things start to go bad, you can continue to still do the right things, and you're going to get out of a rut way quicker if you continue to do the right things than if you let all these little things drop off. And the best way to have them not drop off is to be consistently doing them all the time. So I'm not always perfect at this. I'm definitely somebody that can procrastinate a lot and be super on it and disciplined with some stuff and then not have the other stuff. So stretching's been something that I've just neglected for probably the last 3 or 4 years. Even though it's been something I've consistently wanted to improve on, wanted to do every day. And so that's something that I've managed to crack recently. I've got an app called Go One, and so every evening I do at least 15, 20 minutes of stretching. I try and do it twice a day, but it's just been once a day at the moment. And so I'm building it up, and I've had consistency for that. So it's been 15 minutes every day, pretty much wherever I am, even when I'm at my parents' house or traveling or whatever. And so, yeah, I'm proud of myself for that. And it is something that has helped me because I just have that consistency. My back feels better, my body feels better. I don't feel quite as broken. So I'm 27 now, fast approaching 30. So I need to start taking better care of myself and not just smashing myself with CrossFit and weightlifting. So that's that one. And then the last one is another one. So like I said, there's a natural phenomenon here that is the ebbs and flows. I found too, as my life has gone on and as I've improved and got more involved in personal development, and just become an older, wiser person, that the ups and downs have minimized a lot. So, like I said, when I was like 16, I had a bout of like clinical depression. The same again when I was about 20, 21. I've got that low in like moments, like a day or two since then, but it's definitely not been a span of 3 months, 6 months, whatever it was. So these have really minimized the peaks and troughs. And so what you really want the graph to look like is, so right now, here's the highest high, here's the lowest low. What you want to have them do over time is just go up. And so your lowest low is higher than your peak was before. And so you're constantly just going up. And what this looks like is like raising your standards. So I'll have a certain length I'll allow my hair to get before I go and have a haircut. I'll have a certain level of untidiness in my bedroom that I'll accept before I make it more tidy. And the same thing with the inverse. There'll be like a certain level of like super tidy to where that's as tidy as it's going to get, and then I'll start slipping off until I hit the lowest low, and then I'll fix it, and it will be this constant up and down. If you focus on this and look at it, the ebbs and flows of everything, like whether it's the food that you eat, whatever it is, like this is happening a lot in your life. So the more that you can remove these, or the more that you can minimize the lowest level that you're willing to accept, whether it's like the fucking letting the washing basket get full, whether it's letting the fucking washing up pile up on the side of your sink before you get it done, whatever it is, like try and raise your standards for what it is. Maybe it's fucking how many days you leave before you shave. yeah, whatever it is, they just try and raise your standards. And what you'll do when you do that is by raising the lowest low, you'll also raise the highest high, and you'll just set better standards for yourself. And over time, you'll see the ebbs and flows minimize, and then those will become again anchors for you with those positive habits. So feel like I'm waffling on a little bit here, so I'll cut it here. If there's any questions you have on this stuff, I could wax lyrical about this stuff all day, and I think it's really, really interesting. I'd love to hear some of your experiences as well with the ebbs and flows and kind of what you've been doing or have done to deal with it. That would mean a lot to me. So hope you guys are all doing well. Always here to talk if you guys ever need anything. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.